Welcome to this masterclass on the number one tip for getting the clients you want. I'm actually really excited to present this masterclass because I have a story to share that I hope will help you with the tip. So before we get started, if you have tried to get clients and you're struggling, or if you have any comments or suggestions, you'd like to put anything in the chat, I'd be happy to answer anything. I'm Mama J, also known as Jacquelin Hollows, and I run the Impact Activator, which is a revolutionary program for social impactors who want to create change, but who also want to create income. So I'm really passionate about helping us to create more sustainable income for ourselves while at the same time changing the world. Someone this week said to me, love is free. And I thought, love is free, but the rent isn't. Because it's great to say love is free and we should share this spiritual understanding and not charge for it, and we should give everything away. But the fact is, I've found to my own detriment that if you don't look after yourself and you don't create income as well, then you're limited in how many people you can help, which may not be a problem. You may not want to help that many people. But if you do, and you want to grow either a coaching business, an impactful coaching business, or a social enterprise, then you have to look after yourself as well. And I see many, many talented, impactful people who are struggling and who have to take part-time jobs. And I just think these people are really needed in the world. So that's what I'm now on a mission to do, is to help people like that. So I've started a program called the Impact Activator, and I'm in the middle of series 1, and series 2 will start around about mid to the end of May. Before I talk about what I think is the number one secret, I wanted to cover what you might think of the sort of pragmatic standard things. So I thought, well, what would be the top 3 things? The first thing would be being clear. Being clear about the problem you can solve. So being clear in your own mind, this is the problem I solve. And being clear to your audience, this is the problem I solve. That's the biggest thing that I've seen in myself as well, is not being clear about what I do. I'm known as a multi-passionate, so I love doing all sorts of different things, and I have lots of different projects going at the same time. But that hasn't really helped me. It's helped me have a really interesting life, but it hasn't helped me in the past build a business. And when I think back to when I built Beyond Recovery, which is the social enterprise that I ran, I got very clear. I'm taking a wellbeing understanding into prison to work with prisoners. When I then tried to build in, and we work with officers and we work with support staff, it had some limited impact and was received by some people, but it never really got off the ground. And I came to realize, because when you're seen as one thing, it's very hard to break into the other thing. And in actual fact, what would be a better thing to do is say, this person is the person who teaches the officers, if you like, because the officers think that they need something different from the inmates. Even if it's the same thing, they want to hear different language and so on. In the same way that your thing might be, let's say, working with relationships, couples. So you really know that you can help couples, and you really know that you've seen it work, you've done it before, but now you decide that actually what I've noticed is that a lot of the one half of the couple that comes, they suffer with anxiety. So I'm going to do anxiety. And then you try to talk about anxiety, but you're known as the person who can help couples really hard. Of course, you can do that. Of course, you can rebrand and so on. But I've just noticed that having one clear message helps people know what you do and send people to you. You don't have to be scared that you then won't get the anxiety people or the officers, because in actual fact, when people come along and speak to you, if that's what they need, then that's what you'll give them. It's almost like there's an energetic pull. The clients that are meant for you come to you regardless to what you're actually offering, but they can hear you through the clarity of the offer. And when they come, then of course we work with whatever we work with, and that's great. But they can't even find you without that clarity. And my experience of that is, before I started doing this program, I was known as the prison lady, and people didn't even know that I did coaching. They had no clue. So a couple of years ago, somebody came to me and said, I'd really like a supervisor. It was a person who wanted some business coach, and I don't even know if you do this sort of thing. And I thought, how do people not know? But that's because that wasn't the message I was giving people. But that client still came to me. So I didn't lose out. It's the person who's attracted to you will come to you anyway and ask, do you do that? And then the clearer you are, the more likely that people who maybe wouldn't have asked will come anyway. I'm just going to check the chat. So someone in the chat has said, almost as if the getting aligned with the offer is more about us being clear energetically than who knows who comes. Absolutely. It's about us being clear within ourselves. And then the second thing that I thought is useful is being consistent. It seems like we live in a bubble of thinking that somehow things are just going to come our way. It's a funny thing. It's a dichotomy, let's say, because on the one hand, things are just going to come your way. So that's how it works, right? So we're doing what we do in life, and the resources that we need come along. On the other hand, if you want to build a practice, or you want to have more clients, or you want to build a social enterprise, you have to be consistent with however you're marketing. Now, I don't think anybody has to do social media if they don't want to. I don't think that anybody has to do a particular platform if they don't want to. But whatever you choose to do, you have to follow that consistently. So if you do want to be on LinkedIn, let's say, then you have to post on LinkedIn. You have to talk about what you're doing and engage with other people. And that applies to any other platform. Partly because you're finding your voice. So I'm posting a lot on LinkedIn at the moment, and I'm looking at what people are answering. What are they engaging with? What are they hearing? Are they hearing what I'm saying? Is it landing? Now, it doesn't, to me, it doesn't matter if you get 5 likes or 50 likes or 500 likes. I mean, I suppose I would be happy to have 500 likes, but it's not about the likes. It's about, are the 5 people who are liking my post, are they people who are really benefiting from what I'm putting out there? Is every post I put out there of value to somebody else? Not is every post I put out there going to attract people to my program, but is it adding value? Because I know, having been in business for a very long time, I know that people who are going to come and work with you eventually come, and they might know you, for 5 years before they come and work with you. So that part takes care of itself. The bit that I'm concerned about, and the bit that I'd really like to share today, is the consistency of, am I helping someone? So if your posts are getting nothing at all, no engagement, and you're posting regularly, that helps you to learn, okay, something's not quite working here. What do I need to change? And I'll cover off the non-social media in a minute. So for instance, I love the concept of prototype forward, it's called. I love this concept because this is a build as you go. So don't build in your room and get it all perfect and then tell the world about it. Actually build as you go. And the reason why that is so good is because you're getting immediate feedback. So for instance, I ran a series of masterclasses which I felt were reasonably well attended for a first series. And then I've run this second series and I've had less engagement. And then I started to get a bit low about that, a bit despondent, a bit lost. And because I'm prototyping forward, I'm learning on the job, I'm putting stuff out there and seeing what's happened, what's working, and am I adding value to each post? I knew I shouldn't be taking it personally, but I was. So I got into a funk. I'm taking it personally. I'm sort of thinking, is it worth it? Oh no, is it rubbish? Was it a one-off? All of these things. And then I remembered, this is very early on in my business. This is 3 months in. This isn't even a year in. It's not the time to start going, it's not working, it's all rubbish. It's the time to go, is there something missing? Or, what was different last time to this time? And for me, it was that. Last time I was super energized, super excited, ready to rock, and that momentum really attracted people in, brought people to the party. This time, I've just rolled it out. I sort of thought people are just going to know the party's on and they're just going to turn up. And what I've learned about email and all of the stuff that you put out there, there's so much noise. People can't always see what's going on. They don't even know. It goes over their heads. They forget. Something else props up in the feed. So I realised today, in fact, I'm just not posting often enough. I'm not letting people know about the value that they could get. I'm not getting people excited. I'm not talking to the people that would benefit from coming along to these masterclasses and would enjoy them. So that's what's wrong. Not it's not working, throw the baby out with the bathwater. And I see that it's the same regardless to whether you use a social media platform like LinkedIn or Facebook or Insta, or whether you use email or whether you use flyers. So if you want to do old-fashioned marketing and draw up some flyers and take them down to your local craft stalls or bookshops or whatever, you still have to go and check that the flyers are still on the table and chat to the bookshop owners and see who's around, because it's the connection. The consistency is actually about, am I connecting to the people that I can help? And without that consistency on any platform and in any sphere, it's more random, and you get what you give. So you get the occasional person, but you won't get a stream of people, if you like. That was the 2 tips. And then the 3rd tip, because I wanted it to be a C, be clear, be consistent, and be confident, but it's not really a C, it's a Y, because it's going to, and you can maybe guess what it is, and I'm not going to tell you until I've told you a story. 2018, I went to a conference in Cape Town, a Free Principles conference. I was a speaker, and I spoke on stage, and after my talk, a lady came up to me who was a education officer at a prison in Cape Town. And the prison's called Drakenstein, and it was the final prison that Nelson Mandela was in, not Robben Island, but the final one where he got released from. So she came up to me and she's very inspired about what I was talking about and wanted to know, would you come and visit our prison? So on our day off, everyone else went up Table Mountain and we went to a prison, of course. And two other people came with us, somebody who was a yoga teacher and somebody else, but people who worked in South Africa, and they asked if they could come along. As it happens, in Cape Town that year, it was a very dry year and all the water had dropped. So we all got terrible, terrible bugs because we were drinking, because the water is normally very clean. So one by one, everybody got really ill. And on the day of the trip, I'd spent 24 hours just literally. I won't go into the detail, but you can imagine. So I still felt absolutely awful on that day, stomach cramps, all the rest of it. And it was about an hour and a half drive away from Cape Town. So off we went to this prison, and I didn't want to miss it. And along the way, the yoga teacher said, well, what are you going to talk about? And I said, I don't know. So off we went. It was an amazing visit. We saw all the young lads and they all stood by their beds, and it was very, very cute. And the officers were amazing. They gave us a big tour. They were so delighted that we'd come along. And the English teacher said, right, it's time for you to come and take the class. So didn't know I was going to actually take the class. And all the way around this tour, I had to keep stopping, had to keep visiting the loo and cramping over. So we get to the classroom, and I guess the ages were about, I think they were 18 to 25, that sort of age range. So all young lads, lots and lots of numbers on the necks, and, all in the different gangs and so on. And the education teacher introduced me and said, that I'd come from England to see them and to talk to them about stuff and so on. So I'm at the front of the class. I feel terrible. And I'm faced with about 30 young black men. And I thought, I literally do not know what I'm going to say here. And I said, tell me about when you are struggling. Which lessons do you struggle in? Oh, we hate maths, miss, and we hate this, and they're all putting their hands up and speaking. And I said, okay, yeah, I get that. Well, tell me about, when do you feel free in your mind? When does it feel like you're in the zone? Oh, when we're playing football, miss. We love football. So they're all telling me about their football. I was like, right, okay, well, I want to talk a little bit about that, where that struggle and that freedom comes from. Okay. So I talked about that for a little while, and I could see some of them were there and some of them weren't. So I took a moment and I said, do you know what? Let's change tack a little bit. Does anybody know, here I am, a white woman from England, and here you all are. Could anybody tell me what makes us the same? And some of the lads said, it's our blood. miss. We've all got the same blood. We all bleed red blood. I said, oh, that's true. Yeah, that's true. And then they came up with lots of things like that. And I said, what else? What else? What else? And then one boy said, it's spirit, miss. And I went, yeah. And then we just literally had 40 minutes of this amazing conversation about spirit and how spirit comes through us and how it's the same for everybody, no matter where you are in the world and how much money you've got or whether you're in prison or whether you're not, and so on. Absolutely amazing. And the yoga teacher was at the back, and there was a young lad just head on the table, just shaking his head and just kept thumping the desk. And she thought, oh, he doesn't like it. And at the end, she said, are you okay? And he went, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. It's that simple. And he just literally like, wow, it's that simple. That's all I needed to know. That's it. My life's going to change. And there is a little adjunct, which is not part of this masterclass, but I'll share with you. So my husband is from Manchester. And at the end of all of this, oh, by the way, I completely forgot that I was ill. No pain whatsoever during the whole time. Anyway, my husband's from Manchester, and at the end of the talk, the education teacher said, introduce your team. So I introduced, whoever was there, and Rob, my husband. And I don't know how they found out he's from Manchester, but anyway, maybe he said, I'm from Manchester. And the boys who'd been a bit naughty and nudging each other at the back of the class, all three of them put their hands up. They said, you from Manchester? Yes, Rob said. And you might be able to guess what they said. They said, do you know Wayne Rooney? So the point of that whole story is, to me, being confident isn't putting on a face, trying to be something that you're not, trying to be an expert. It's about being yourself. Because no matter where you are in the world, no matter where you are online, if you are yourself, you find a way to connect, because we're already connected. And it's the pretense or the trying that gets in the way of connection. Whereas when you're yourself, in all your flaws and all your quirks, you are automatically, you're already connected, but you automatically see the link. And if you like, get carried by that link between you. And I honestly feel like that is the number one tip for getting the clients you want. Because I've tried to work with organisations that were not a good fit for me and my quirkiness and my sense of humour. And it hasn't gone well. It's gone okay, but they probably wouldn't even remember me. And then I've also just been completely myself now, more recently, and I've got clients who are amazing and they're the perfect fit. And I feel like the more yourself you are, the more you'll attract the perfect person for you. And that can mean, some of you have been here before when I've said, I'm really nervous, or, I'm not really sure if anyone's going to show up. And everybody in my circle who loves and wants to work with me likes that. They don't want the person who's sitting there super confident, thinking, like pretending that they've got hundreds of people showing up, you just can't see them on the screen or whatever. I don't know what that might look like. They don't want that person. They want the person that can show them the flaws and be where they are. Because I remember working in prison when I told the lads that I had a row with my husband, they were like, oh, I feel so much better now, miss, that you're not perfect. I'm really far from perfect. So being yourself. Now, if you are super confident, then that's yourself. There's no one way to be. If you're quiet and very calm person, you don't have to be energetic and having a laugh and everything. If you are a person who likes to laugh a lot, then you don't have to be quiet and calm. I used to think that I wanted to be, as a lady who wrote a book, Nancy Klein, Time to Think. I wanted to be Nancy Klein. She's so calm and you feel calm in her presence. And I wanted to be Nancy Klein. But I'm not Nancy Klein. I'm Mama Jane. And I can be calm. And I can be super quiet. But I'm also, I like a laugh and I'm energetic. And that actually just reminded me of the final bit of that, which is, and you're many shades. So when you're yourself and confident in that self, confident being, I'm okay with being myself, even if I feel really nervous, the shades come out and people see that multifaceted, and that's what they're attracted to. And almost whatever you're offering doesn't matter. The Isle of Wight is off the coast of England, and there's a ferry that goes from Southampton to the Isle of Wight. And a lot of people go on that ferry, a lot of cars, a lot of trucks go on that ferry. It's the only way that you can get to the island. Well, you can use the hovercraft, but the ferry is the main way. And there's a man who works for the ferry company. And as you're coming off the ramp, which is very tedious, you have to wait for everything to, and then you roll off the ramp. He stands at the bottom of the ramp, bowing, kissing, twirling, doing hearts. And all he has to do is like, yeah, move on, move on. And instead of doing that, he makes people day. Now, you don't have to be that man. But what I realise is he is so full of it and so himself that we all love it. We all want to get on the ferry just to see this guy. Equally, if it was just somebody really professional, but they were being themselves, then that would be equally as engaging. So whoever you are, be yourself and be confident that yourself is enough. That is my number one tip. So the question was, or the comment rather than a question, was remembering that can we shed the ideas of how we should be and what we sort of feel like we'd like to be, and just be ourselves, which might be a quiet, confident person, or it might be just a quiet, calm person, and that be enough. Like, is that enough? That's what I heard in the question. Is that enough? And I would say 100% yes. When you shared that, I thought about, oh, I can see you gathering flowers with someone and going back and pressing them and showing someone how to make art out of flowers and how to notice sap on a tree. Now, that's the visual that came to mind when you shared that. And we can always think whatever it is that we've got is not enough. That we want that other person's thing and we'd rather swap it. And while we're fighting that, that's the struggle, really. That's the whole struggle. You know, I would fight, my version of that is fighting against the quirkiness, you know, wanting to be calm and professional and not someone who's quirky and got a lisp and got red hair. It's like actually somebody who's, I don't know, something else. But the more that I've embraced me version, there are definitely people who don't like me, and there are definitely people who would never work with me. And I've had clients who either they've sacked me or I've sacked them, but that's because I was trying to be something else. And the more me I am, and not even just accept it, embrace it and be grateful for it. There isn't another you. And it's so easy to undermine our own ness. Like it's easy to undermine the innate skills that you've got. So I always admire people who are good at maths and can do all of that in their head. But for them, they just think that's just what they do. It's nothing. My husband is amazing at geography. If I say Stansted and Luton, he knows where those places are. To me, they're just airports in the south. And I think they're pretty much the same. But I've learned, because I've now booked a flight from Stansted and that's the wrong one, that they're not the same. And one's a pain to get to. But for him, it's just a natural thing that he's got. And I would think, oh, I wish I had that. But there are natural things that I've got that he hasn't got. And we don't embrace that. We don't look for those things. Well, I think we're taught to look for the flaws and improve ourselves instead of enhancing our innate skills, what we're born with, almost what we're here for, to be ourselves and to be in full blossom of that. If there's anything that popped for you during that story or anything, then please let me know in the comments. We talk about this and so much more in the Impact Activator. So if you'd like to know more about that, book a discovery call. What is your biggest takeaway from today? Please share with me. Beautiful. So my takeaway from today is to just be me, lean more and more into that which makes me unique. 100% love that. Yeah, really, really cool. Okay, so that is the end of the masterclass. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for the people who came on the replay. If you're watching this on the replay, there is another masterclass on the 17th of April. So be sure to look out for that. And I will see you all very soon.